It is my pleasure to have somebody who I've had the pleasure of speaking with before. We have Stuart Early from the Tahoma Bird Alliance here to talk to us about something very important coming up.
Absolutely. Good to see you again, Chris.
Good to see you too.
And great to hear about the dogs as well. Always love to see dogs being adopted.
Although we were in the green room earlier talking, and I do miss having the live pet of the week. We do miss that occasionally, but this is just as much fun to get to see these animals.
I can always bring one of my dogs in next time.
Now, before we get into the Northwest Forest Plan review, it's probably helpful to know what the Northwest Forest Plan is.
Absolutely. This is really important, Chris. Northwest Forest Plan was introduced when Bill Clinton was president, about 30 years ago. And it's basically a plan to try and sort of balance economic logging and the protection of endangered species in what is known as the Northwest Forest Plan area, which is about 24 million acres. It includes 17 national forests, and it stretched from the Canadian border down to San Francisco. It's a huge area. Of that 24 million acres, something like under the current plan, something like 8.8 million acres you can't log at all. Something like 7.4 million acres, people can only go in there to log if it's for salvage or if it's for trimming. So it's been a great plan. It's protected a lot of our ancient woodlands. Under the terms of the current plan, trees older than 80 years old cannot be chopped down. So it's protecting ancient woodlands, and I'll talk about why that's so important a bit later on.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like we've had this plan since the Clinton administration,
yeah,
and it's been working well. So why are we reviewing it?
That's a good question. Basically, I suppose climate change has had an impact. We now scientifically know there's moist and dry forests. The original plan had very limited tribal input. And of course, we've seen so many wildfires. So there's now a lot of concern about, is the plan good for the current year? Do we need to improve it?
So what sort of impact could this review have?
It could be disastrous. There are 4 options to the plan at the moment. One option, which is the preferred option, would lead to, for example, instead of having protection for trees over 80 years old, trees would have to be 120 years old to be protected. It would also change the logging status for a lot of the acreage, so in something like 19 million acres could be impacted. So we are very concerned. The situation is that the US, people might not think this, we talk about deforestation, people think of the Amazon basin, but the US is still responsible for generating, it's the biggest producer of paper pulp in the world, and the US is the second biggest producer of paper and paperboard products after China.
Wow.
And in 2022, the US exported 10.1 million metric tons of paper and paperboard products. So we still generate a lot of paper products through chopping down our trees. So this could have a big impact. And some of the projections are that whereas at the moment we're taking about 500,000 trees from the national forests, this could increase to over 1 billion if the review of the plan goes the wrong way. So
those
it's very concerning.
Are huge numbers.
Absolutely.
That's numbers that you don't even like to think of, and unfathomable in some ways. And I mean, obviously, this is a very important topic right now. So what is the Tahoma Bird Alliance doing to help this out?
Right, it's very important, not only because of the substance of this, because it is just such a huge area we're talking about, but the deadline is the 17th of March for submissions. So we're working with a lot of other conservation groups, other bird alliances, and particularly the Oregon Bird Alliance, who are doing a hell of a lot of work on this. And we're putting in submissions probably next week, just before the deadline, and we're asking the US Fish and Wildlife Service to keep the protections on trees over 80 years old, to restrict the logging in various areas, and to continue to protect birds and nature.
How can our viewers help? I mean, are there ways we can make our concerns heard? What can we do?
Absolutely, and this is so important, Chris, because Everything, every call people make, every letter people write, every submission they make carries a lot of weight, because most politicians accept the premise that for every one letter or phone call they get, that means there's probably 200 people who haven't sent a submission in. So I think we just showed a slide of the submission deadline. If you go on the website for US Fish and Wildlife Service, you can make a submission very easily. There's a template that is out there that you can just simply fill in. You can then make some notes on that. You put your name and address. You can say in your letter what you want to protect. And you refer to Northwest Forest Plan Amendment Update. There is, on your screen down, your viewers can see there is a website address to send that through to. You can simplify, just go to US Fish and Wildlife Service and put in Northwest Forest Plan submissions, and that will take you straight to that. And you can then make your submission. But it is very, very easy. And all I would say to people is, if you want to keep it simple, just say that you want the restrictions on trees to continue at 80 years and older, as opposed to making it 120 years. And you want to restrict logging to the current areas.
And I imagine this also has such an impact on the animals that were on the endangered species list that we've tried so hard to save and revitalize, that this could seriously impact that.
Absolutely. Now, a good example of this is the spotted owl and the barred owl. Spotted owl is in decline, and mainly because it thrives in ancient woodland. And before the plan was in place, we decimated our ancient woodlands. The barred owl has moved into this territory, and US Fish and Wildlife Service's solution to this is to actually put in place a plan that is going to, well, in my words, slaughter 470,000 barred owls over the course of 30 years at a cost of 1.35 billion, based on the cost of their current trials. So that's what happens when you get these things wrong, and when you destroy ancient woodlands, and then here's man trying to put it right, not very successfully.
Stuart, thank you for bringing this to our attention and letting us know that there are ways that we can help. Is there anyone that you want to mention or thank on this issue?
Well, I always thank you guys for bringing us on, because this is so important. And I want to thank the viewers. If the viewers can just put pen to paper, go onto the website, put their submissions in, believe me, it will help so much, because the more people raise this issue, the more people take action about it.
It's a day of challenges. We've had another challenge put out by you, so I hope that our viewers will certainly get out there and give the information to their legislatures to help make this stay the way it was. Thank you, Stuart, for being here. We have another segment coming up very shortly. It's the Fieldhouse Flea Market, and we've got Chris and Carol, who are going to turn our own studio into a little bit of a flea market in just a few moments. We'll see you back shortly.